18th of September it is, wherever you're watching from East Africa and around the world. I'm Johnson Mwakazi. Now, of course, the big story really is the ICC proceedings at The Hague. The second day of prosecutors' witness testimony in the trial against Deputy President William Ruto and former radio presenter Joshua Arabsang at The Hague was interrupted this morning after barely 2 minutes. This comes after the prosecutor asked for a closed-door session to discuss matters to do with witnesses. Presiding Judge Chile Eboy Osuji said the prosecution had raised matters of grave concern and adjourned the session until 3:30 p.m. Kenyan time.
Prosecutor, I understand there is something you want to raise in closed session.
There is indeed, Your Honours. May I inquire, I understood we were going to start off this morning with submissions regarding the resolution passed by the Kenyan Parliament.
That was the intention.
Yes.
But in light of what you want to discuss in closed session, perhaps we should start with that.
Very well. I think that the two issues may well be related, but as to which order we do it in, I'm in Your Honour's hands.
As it happens, these proceedings are supposed to be done in public, but it often happens that developments in the case will require for the court to go in closed session, and unavoidably we must do that now. So, court officer, if you can put us in the mode, thank you.
All right, so that's exactly what happened in the morning, so we're still waiting up to 3:30 p.m. where we'll now follow the proceedings. But we want to find out exactly the prevailing situation around, and we'll go straight to The Hague, where our very own Francis Gashuri is on standby to give us the latest. Francis Gashuri, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Mwakazi.
All right, many thanks. Of course, the proceedings were interrupted and the judges, the parties went for a closed session. Perhaps you could give us the underlying situation.
Thank you, Mwakazi, once again. And it's a serious issue here, Mwakazi. Remember, we talked about this issue at great length this morning. The whole question of witness protection mechanisms, and also the matter of identifying the witnesses. And I remember you posed that question of the name and some pictures that were circulating of the alleged witness who testified yesterday. And that is a matter that has raised a lot of concern here, Mwakazi, and that's the principal reason why the session was adjourned barely after about 2 minutes this morning. And it's an expertise session that has been held this morning, and to deliberate on that particular matter. A session that only involved the prosecution and the trial chamber. And from what we gather is that the prosecution is very concerned about what they are saying is an attempt to interfere with the identities of the witnesses. And they are concerned that once the name has been disclosed, then it could totally disorganize the prosecution's strategy and also put the witnesses to great risk. That's why the prosecution has sought to discuss that matter with the trial chamber in camera, just to talk about how well they can be able to protect the witnesses. And not only just the witness who is on the stand now, the first prosecution witness number 536, but also subsequent witnesses who will be coming to the International Criminal Court to testify in this case that involves Deputy President William Ruto and radio journalist Joshua Arabsang. So that basically is the serious issue that is being raised here, Mwakazi, solely about the identities of the witnesses and how that can be kept confidential.
Right, I want us to stay on that particular issue a bit, looking at the consequences, because we're still waiting for the judges to come in and of course give us a directive on the way forward. But perhaps you could share with us what are some of the possible consequences now that all this information surrounding witness exposure is already in the public domain.
Mwakazi, you remember we told our viewers, and probably it is important that we repeat this again, the only people who are allowed to see the witness, who are allowed to come face to face with the witness, in this particular case are the particular parties in this case. That is the prosecution, the trial chamber, the defense teams, the the representatives of the victims, and also the two accused. So anybody else outside the court is not allowed to see or even to know who the witnesses are. So the consequences, Mwakazi, could be that if the judges deem it fit to maybe escalate the protection of the witnesses, they could order that the entire sessions of the International Criminal Court, in this case involving Deputy President William Ruto and journalist Joshua Sang, be held in private or in closed door. So that, of course, will deny you and me an opportunity and all our viewers an opportunity to follow the proceedings from inside the court, because they're saying that if that is what it probably will take to protect the witnesses, then they will proceed with that. Of course, now there may be arguments that this could be a miscarriage of justice because people will not be able to see what is happening inside. But of course, the court will have to balance between not only having justice done, but that justice being seen to be done, and also at the same time, the whole question of protecting the witnesses. So it's a delicate matter for the judges to determine this afternoon when they resume the sessions at about 2 p.m.
All right, perhaps just a final question here. Of course, the consequences are dire, no doubt about it. We're looking at perhaps a directive that will force the proceedings to be held behind closed doors, other witnesses fearing the possibility of being exposed and the schedule of the proceedings being interfered with. Perhaps you could mention a bit about those who are basically at the moment sending all these messages about these alleged witnesses. What kind of action is there, perhaps, in store for them?
Mokazi, it is also important that our viewers must at all times remember that the ICC may be based here at The Hague, but the ICC, the International Criminal Court, has investigators even in Kenya. So people should not probably think that it's a court that is very far away. We have investigators of the ICC right in Kenya. And so before you post anything, before you say anything, before you talk about any matter relating to the International Criminal Court, probably it will also be important that you weigh the options and also look at the consequences that may befall you. And particularly maybe for us who use the social media and all the consumers of the social media, it is important that probably we'll be a bit more careful, because the Rome Statute has particular provisions in relation to the protection of witnesses, and anybody who would be found guilty of doing anything that could be deemed to be coercion or intimidation, or dealing with any matter that may put the witnesses or the victims at risk, stands a trial at the ICC, and if convicted, and if found guilty, could be convicted to a term of about 5 years. So probably it would be very important that we all become careful about the whole matter of the ICC. And also remember, it could affect quite a number of things. For example, today half a day has been lost discussing that particular matter, yet that is the amount of time that would have been spent maybe for the prosecution to wind up its time with the witness in their testimony, and also probably to give the defense teams an opportunity to cross-examine the witnesses. So as these kind of issues come up in the course of the hearings, what the consequence would be is that the schedule will be affected, and so this case could go on for a little longer probably than it was expected.
Right, many thanks indeed, Francis Gashuri, reporting all the way from The Hague. Of course, here on Citizen Television, as soon as the proceedings begin, we'll be able to relay that here on Citizen Television. 3:30 p.m. Make a date. In the meantime, let's move on to other stories. Now, a section of leaders from Nyandarua County have called on the county administration to formulate proper disaster management plans to ensure quick and efficient response to emergencies. Led by the county's women representative Wanjiku Muhia, Olkalau Member of Parliament David Njuguna and County Speaker Wahome Ndegwa, the leaders noted that the region was facing a myriad of disaster challenges that could be well addressed if stringent measures are put in place.
The leaders were speaking at Silanga Secondary School in Olkalau constituency when they donated clothing, beddings, sanitary towels, among other assorted goods to the students whose belongings were reduced to ashes after fierce fire gutted their dormitory while the students were in a prayer session. During the incident, property worth thousands of shillings was destroyed, leaving about 70 students to spend nights in the cold.
firefighting equipment is a necessity. It is not a luxury for the county. And I believe and I think that in the budget that we have passed, we have already provided for that. So we shall be acquiring those equipment.
I also want to commend those who have supported my idea of not closing the school, rather getting the solution, because the dormitory cannot be built in a night. And I want to say thank you to the children who have accepted, even if it is to sleep on the floor, because the exams are just about to come.
The leader said there was a dire need for the county leadership to establish proper measures that will help in addressing rampant fire and floods tragedies.
Let us have disaster management in place. Specifically in Orokara constituency, we've experienced several events of fire. 2 months ago, we went to Sokomoto and our house was burnt, the children were burnt. We have nothing to respond to fire. So we request for fire extinguishers and also the inner roads, the feeder roads, because even though the fire extinguisher was there, it was still difficult for it to access the girls' dormitory.
They challenged the Nyandarua county government to take keen interest in disaster management, saying the county has been doing badly in that area. The leaders advocated for every school to have firefighting equipment, adding that CDF committees should intervene by supporting the Silanga Secondary School. Patrick Njendi, Citizen at 1.
Meanwhile, Nyeri County Assembly is developing a county climate change policy framework which will be advanced into a bill. The anticipated law is expected to help in environmental conservation. The Deputy Speaker, Joel Gishuru, stressed the need to develop a law which will prevent destruction of forests. He was speaking in Nyeri town during a one-day workshop which was sponsored by a non-governmental organization, Help Self Help Center.
Attention will be in form of those people who took very bold steps to embrace a policy that sometimes is also very painful, because integrating or implementing some of these activities require heavy investment costs.
Now, I don't know how you like your chicken, but question here. Have you ever seen chicken with purple or even pink feathers? Ordinarily, chicken tend to have fairly simple colors, of course, black, white, spotted. But at the Ruiru farm in Solai, Nakuru County, you will find the birds in every imaginable color. And no, they are not a new, unique breed. Rather, their colors are literally man-made, the chicken having been painted to protect them from marauding hawks and eagles. The logic behind the chicken painting is that, like human beings, hawks and eagles' image of chicken is informed by predictable appearance, and a change in the color of their feathers confuses them and buys the chicken valuable protection from their prey's deadly appetite. And as the chicken painter of Solai has discovered, the result is more chicken for happy farmers.
It is a village of purple and pink chicken. And the colored chicken of Ruiru Farm in Solai, Nakuru County are made. They are not hatched. They are actually painted. Meet Geoffrey Mwangi, a chicken painter, a man who has perfected the art so much that painting chicken is now like a pastime.
Unahakikisha umepaka kila mahali.
When he started this, the people of Solai were perplexed.
Waliweza kuona ni kama utoto ambao tunafanya na kama ni concert. Na wakaanza kupuuza hii kazi, kwa wengi wakaanza kupuuza.
That was the attitude last year. Months later, they are embracing the new method of protecting their chicken from preying eagles and hawks. Free-range chicken farming is common here, and predators know that the use of purple or pink chicken dye, colors to which hawks and eagles are blind to, is protecting them. A perfect camouflage.
Na vile mwewe akiwa juu, anapotazama huyo kifaranga akiwa chini, aone ni purple ama pink. Kitu cha kwanza anachanganyikiwa. Anashindwa ni nini hii, kwa sababu alikuwa amekuja kwa sababu ya kifaranga, lakini anaona kitu kingine ni kama kifaranga lakini inamchanganya, na kwa sababu ya hiyo rangi. Kwa hivyo kifaranga anapoona mwewe akiwa juu ni kupotea, kitu cha kwanza anapotea, na anapopotea mwewe akiwa juu anachanganyikiwa, mpaka naye pia ni kupotea, anapotea. Kwa hivyo wote wanakuwa wametoroka, kifaranga anaokoka na mwewe anapotea.
The concept, developed by a non-governmental organization, is getting popular by the day, as more village-based agricultural advisors like Mwangi are trained, paint, cage them until they are dry, then freedom.
Hata huyo kifaranga hana effect yoyote. Hata kuku mwenyewe ukimpaka, kwa sababu mama yake unapopaka pengine, kwa sababu anakuja kuulizia watoto wake na pako na hiyo rangi, hata uende umchinje saa hiyo, hana shida yoyote, utakula siku hiyo hiyo.
Everything comes with a price.
Shilingi 3 ndio tunawapakia kwa kifaranga mmoja.
A price farmers here are ready to pay.
Watu wengi wananiuliza, utakuja kulipakia lini?
His next stop, the next homestead where chicks have hatched.
Purple pink chickens? Well, I don't know about you. But anyways, let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.